It's Spoilerin time, a show that is a result of the hard work of our other show, Cordkillers, where we figure out how to watch things, then we get to watch them and talk about them here. This week, we are going to talk about Hannibal, episode 9 of season 1, episode 6 of The Stand, and season 1, episode 3 of WandaVision. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Heck yeah, and we are joined this week for one special episode with Nicole Lee of Engadget. Thank you for joining us, Nicole Lee. WandaVision. Okay, so here's the thing. They're all great. Every episode is great, but
it's early to rein in the all the episodes are great, but train. It feels like
okay. I earlier said
is it because this one's now in color, which is the name of the episode?
No, well, it's because
I prefer black and white.
The least amount happened. So I watched this with my family, went to bed, woke up the next day, said, what happened in that episode? And I was like, she had a baby. And I was like, yeah, but surely more happened. And I went back and watched it a second time. And the plot is she had 2 babies. And the rest of the time, there was a lot of significant glancing at each other.
It was hijinks. It got sitcom hijinks.
And then today, I thought, surely there's a reason everybody else thinks this is a really good episode and I'm the one idiot. Like, is there literally anything that wasn't telegraphed from the very first episode of the show that we're learning for the very first time? And I watched it a third time, and I'm pretty sure she just had 2 babies, and that's the entire episode. And everything else was more vague confirmations that something is amiss in this crazy world that we do not understand.
The whole A-plot, the comedy plot of things, her magic power has gone amok.
Okay.
You watched it 3 times. Did you miss that? The comedy part of it?
Listen.
I enjoyed them much more the first and second time. Look, just tell me I'm not crazy. Like, is there something I'm not reading in here?
Brian, you're not crazy. You saw it all coming. And I will back you up part way. The faithful reproduction of an early 70s bit, Brady Bunch style, was boring.
Thank you.
I mean,
but it happened. First off, but it happened. It's not like it didn't happen.
No, it happened. I appreciated it as a faithful, like, wow, this is definitely the kind of shtick that they would do. Not the only one. Like the bit with the doctor is like, I'm headed off on vacation. Oh, my car broke down. Like, I appreciated all of that, but I really was just sitting there waiting for, like, I know she's not going to see the stork. There's no dramatic tension for me with the stork. Back in 1973, when I watched shows that did this, I was 3 years old. So the dramatic tension was, easier to fall into. But even, when I was 7 and watching them, I got it. But that kind of joke only works in a retroactive, like, appreciate the joke. You don't think that she's going to see the stork. And I actually felt like it wasn't as long the second time I watched it. I watched this episode twice, and the second time I was like, it didn't go on for as long as I thought it did. Nicole, what about you?
And before you answer, Nicole, let me just say, significant. Never have we had an episode that independently both Tom and I felt the need to watch more than once to find out if there was something we were missing in. Nicole, what did you think?
I think it's just that, I mean, it's the third episode in this, I mean, the first 2 were obviously sort of, 50s, 60s, I would say. And then this is the 70s version. And there are sitcom tropes that they're trying to pull from. But for me, okay, so that was the reason why I'm kind of like, I'm not sure where I land on this is because there was this question on Twitter I saw the other day. And the question was, if I don't like sitcoms, should I still watch WandaVision? And I was like, I don't know if you should, because it is very sitcom heavy. And if you're a Marvel fan, you should still watch it because, there are some Marvel things in there. But if you just don't like Brady Bunch and you don't like Blue Witch and you just hate those sitcoms, what are you getting out of it, right? The things that you are getting out of are those sort of reveals, like the color in the first 2 episodes, or the weird the powers. But I guess the weird thing about the 3rd episode, I guess the thing that breaks it is it's all in color. So there's no crazy helicopter, there's no blood that's red. It's all color, right? So the only thing that's quote unquote different is the breaks, like the wall, the guy, the neighbor sawing the wall. So that's like, what's that about? And Geraldine, what's that about? The whole sword thing, which the whole sword symbol thing. So but all of that tension comes in 5 minutes in the end of the episode or whatever. So the rest of the episode is just the sitcom bit, and that's kind of where I understand what you're saying about if you're not into the Brady Bunch stuff, then you're like, she gave birth to 2 babies.
And I was into the tropes they were acknowledging in the first 2 episodes. This one,
right?
And I'm into the Brady Bunch trope in many ways, the Gilligan's Island era, all that. I didn't like I didn't really like that bit that they decided to run with on this one. On the other hand, I think they did a lot of stuff, a lot of signaling of stuff. And again, to Brian's point, I know what you're saying, which is it's not a surprise that Monica Rambeau got thrown out, but it was significant that Wanda said, wait, this is the first time we heard Ultron. This is the first time we heard acknowledgement of outside here, and see what Wanda's reaction would be to that. And her reaction was defensive, which if she's prisoner, why would it be defensive? Why wouldn't it be hopeful? And there's also The Verge has a great article pulling together a lot of the comic book stuff about Tommy and Billy and how those are originally introduced as related to Mephisto, the villain, who we think might be showing up later in this series. Mephisto also probably who what's her name is referring to as Ralph all the time when she's like the devil in the details.
Her husband.
So there's
the devil.
So there's a lot of little clues to be read here if you want to dig through and look at it.
It may pay off, and to be honest, in a normal universe, I would have watched this once and thought it's fine, and I would wait for next week and watch the next episode, or I would have been binging and I would have gone instantly on to the next one. I was, in my experience, surprised that I was the only one that was less than blown away by this episode, where basically we're just seeing more bigger, louder clues to the same things that we already kind of had figured out from the first 2, and less competent in style writing. Like if you're going to do a cover, that's what's great about episodes 1 and 2 is that they nailed it, man. They gave us a really good Dick Van Dyke Show. They gave us a really good Bewitched, They gave us
didn't fit
a really
70s sitcoms?
bad. It's a bad episode of the Brady Bunch, I guess. I
think it's faithful.
I mean, and but again, it's like the genius of the first 2 episodes was that they managed to pull off competent covers while hinting at something underneath the surface. In this case, it failed at kind of both. It failed to be subtle and clever,
where I do differ with
and
you.
it also
I think they did
failed to competently cover it.
Yeah, Nicole, I think I'm more with you on the side of showing us more of the mystery. I think was important, and we didn't see as much as maybe I would have liked to, but we saw more of the mystery of what's going on. This is the first time we've actually seen outside of the area, seen a person outside. I also feel like
there were a couple of important parts to it, and the fact that she went from conception to birth in a day or something like that. So the fact that there was that suspension of disbelief, the doctor was fine with it apparently, and the neighbor was sort of accepting of it, and it's weird, but hey, it happens. That's sort of weird. It's real in this universe, and this universe is accepted, and I think that's kind of where the crack is. Plus, the 2 neighbors apparently are aware that they're not real. I mean, I don't know if they're aware. It seems as if they're self-aware enough that they're aware that they're not really there or something, or at least that's what the feeling I got from that little scene was.
They know something's going on, and that bit with Agnes I thought was really important because
Very
Agnes, the theory is that she's Agatha Harkness from the comics. Agnes seems to know more about what's going on than others.
Yeah.
And she shushed the neighbor who was about to say
Yes.
something like, no, you can't say too much. Which
Zip.
This is kind of the turbulence of maybe something that we talked about last week, in that if you're treating this as a mystery, if this is a mystery Marvel TV show, well, we kind of know how Marvel shows are written. We kind of know how superhero conflicts end up, and there's only maybe a few ways that they are trapped in whatever this is, whether it's
She's in a tube,
alternate
brain
dimension,
in a vat, alternate dimension. What else you got?
Right. And
Trapped
I think
in a prism.
And I think this is the rocky middle where like the show has to exist in a vacuum in some regards, right? They have to make it from here's hints to here's resolution. You have to have little baby steps, even if those steps are obvious, or if they are, clearly, what's her name gets thrown out of the town at the end. Well, duh. I mean, if you got ejected, there would have to be a way to do it. I mean,
when she gets thrown out and a bunch of army vehicles converge. So is she a friendly, or was she not supposed to be there?
It felt to me like she was an operative who failed at her job and fell out of the simulation or whatever.
Well, but why do they all rush her?
Trained on her.
With guns on her.
I don't know. I got strong Watchmen HBO vibes in that moment when she fell outside of the picturesque
I'm
world.
curious what you think is the mystery, Brian, because you seem to have cracked it, and so far everything they've revealed, confirms what you think is going to happen. Can you state where you think this is going?
I believe that this is a simulated reality. It is unclear to me whether or not Vision is real or not. I think we are going to be led to believe that Vision is just as simulated as everyone else, but
simulated by Wanda or simulated by someone or something else?
I believe it will be unclear, and then we're going to find out, to the joy of us, the viewer, that it's a vision, if not necessarily her vision. And in the way that'll make us just cozy enough where it's like, well, that's a version of a happy ending.
Well, no, but I'm wondering, is Wanda creating this world, or is someone else creating it? And Wanda's in it.
If I were to guess, there's again, the Hydra references are pretty heavy.
Yes.
There's if you're into the comics lore, AIM is, basically Hydra, only with different uniforms that look like beekeepers. So maybe it's an AIM thing. I don't know.
Ooh.
But Sword, as I understand it, is basically intergalactic shield. Take with all those pieces what you will. But what I believe is there's some important Jeep job, and you're in a place where your superpowers are being kept in check until you are ready to have the truth revealed. Vision is dead. Well, then who are you? I don't know who I am. I must be a Vision, maybe from an alternate dimension. Oh, but I love you. Yeah, we love each other.
So do you think Wanda is in an AIM camp or a Sword camp?
I believe she is in protective custody by people who care for her. Like, she's not
Is that AIM or Sword?
I think Sword are good guys. I don't know. They're changing
Sword are
all
good
rules.
guys usually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm gonna guess.
Well, I kind of mirror your feelings on this, Brian, which is like, I don't know the exact thing, but I don't think that the answer will be anything that could surprise me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's going to be a tube or a force field or a big crystal.
And they're going to explain that she has too much power and they're doing this for the universe's good.
Yeah.
And all she needs to do is care enough.
It's a power of friendship
and
love.
And then also blow up these bad guys.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
She is very powerful.
Now I will say the acting has been amazing. Oh my God. The characters, every single human being doing this show is phenomenal from beginning to end.
Yeah, it's a great cast. And even as much as I didn't like the bit, the creation of a early 70s era color TV show was still spot on. Like, that was a Brady house. That was those were Brady driveway scenes.
And the outside, instead of going back to the outside scenes, it was definitely just painted walls.
Little of like an oblique reference to the aesthetic of 3-2-1 Contact with the hexagons all down the side in a very Brady-esque kind of way. Yeah.
Partridge Family, right. Gilligan's Island era.
All of them.
Yeah.
All of those.
Yeah, all that stuff. Good stuff. Well, Nicole, thank you for chatting about WandaVision with us. Really appreciate it. Any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
I haven't read the comics, so I have very little information going in, but I do know some bits just from like reading around the internet. It's kind of unavoidable. So the sword thing is interesting to me, and the fact that there was that post-credit scene in Spider-Man Far From Home where Nick Fury is like a sword encampment somewhere in space. So I wonder if that has something to do with it. Who knows? But I'm interested to see to find out what else is in store.
Excellent. Bryce, any other last thoughts?
It wasn't until I read that recap, that Verge recap that you sent, Tom, that I realized, oh yeah, those are Wanda's kids, Billy and Teddy, who I know from Tommy, yes, from Young Avengers, who I really like and really hadn't been on the Marvel, roadmap because they are children and you have to give birth to those children at some point. And hey, this thing's been going on so long that they might actually be in this thing. So that's exciting because I like the Young Avengers and I think it would be cool to see like a TV show with them. So that's neat.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Folks want to find more of what you got going on. Where should they go?
Twitter.com/Nicole is my Twitter feed where I will tweet whatever else I'm up to. Excellent.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Good talking to you. Let's talk The Stand, episode 6, season 1, The Vigil. This is we meet Trash Can Man in this one.
Yeah, I regret having brought him up last
You were like, how are they going to do the trash can man?
Without a trash can man.
They'll do it in 3 minutes and it will be very, it'll be cool. It was actually cool.
Willed him into existence. You literally, I thought about that. We also, Mother Abigail is disappeared and everybody's out looking for her. So we have the explosion of the house that is barely avoided by some folks. We have the discovery of Tom as the spy, and he hides himself in a crate full of dead bodies to make his escape. We have the killing of the other spy out in the hotel, or we think we do anyway. At least that's what they said. They showed a body, so I assume she's dead, and that's why Randall Flagg is upset because he's like, "I told you not to kill her."
And the explosion. Did you mention the explosion?
Yeah.
The explosion at the house in Boulder. Yeah.
The only big note I want to hand Bryce is in the book there are a lot more stakes. Like in this show, the explosion is like we lose one character, and even then it's like that one character is like, oh, what's this? It's a bomb, and he's dead. Mm-hmm. Man, it was so much more powerful in the book. But
when you say stakes, or do you mean like the outcome? Because it did seem like, oh yeah, hey, they're gonna blow it. Like I did think that the dramatic tension was there, that they were going to kill everyone at the vigil. Yeah,
what they certainly, showed us a lot of bodies flailing end over end and so on. But
by the way, that visual effect was so over the top. Okay, I loved it.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. That's what I did not love it. I did not love it. I did not love it. Okay, yes, okay. All right.
That was great. Sorry.
That's what really happens. Is what as I understand it. Yeah.
Okay.
What did you like this episode?
No, but I like Bryce's question, Brian. Were you expecting there to be more death? No. Because there was they did. I thought they did a credible job of ramping up the tension of like, gosh, everybody in that house is gonna blow up and die if somebody doesn't, if she doesn't get there and warn them in time.
I did not expect there to be more death, but I was hoping there would be more depth because again, this is Stephen King's problem is that he in the written word is able to convey, bigger than your mind can really hold all at once levels of tension and emotion and all these things. And so often they end up so silly. And we've seen this. We've talked about how in The Stand, the dream sequences all seem cheesy, kind of corny or whatever. And likewise, in the book, there was like this heartbeat of like everybody knew something was amiss during this meeting in Mother Abigail's house, and they all they all got closer and closer to it, and then some of them realized before others, and it was Nick Andros that not only discovers the bomb but also covers it with his body and completely gives himself over to being killed in order to save everybody else. And I felt like that was all absent from this.
And the key difference here is nobody's ever in the house except Nick.
Exactly. Right. Everybody's already pretty much safe. They're all like, guys, get even more safe because there's a bomb in there. And so it's like
you might get cut.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was that was a bummer. That and Trash Can Man. They
I expected. I mean, they obviously set up a big adventure for him to go and get the nuclear fire, whatever the thing is. But I think your unknowing setup of him last week made me think, oh, I really need to. They're really going to do something with this guy, and it
turns out what they're going to make him is Wile E. Coyote.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Yes, he's a cartoon character.
Is he not?
He's less of a imagine the difference between somebody who grows up to become Wile E. Coyote because he has an abusive background, and you think about the terrible things that go into someone who becomes Wile E. Coyote, and then imagine just being handed, Wile E. Coyote fully formed.
Well, and that's where the Stephen King writing or anybody's writing versus what you can show on a television show makes a big difference. Because if I remember, and I'm not nearly as familiar with The Stand as you are, Brian, but if I remember, a lot of what you know about the Trash Can Man is internal dialogue.
Yes.
Is knowing what's in his mind.
Almost all of his scenes are him alone feasting on the corpse of decayed society. Him going from refinery to refinery, setting fires and exulting in the chaos and the joy and the burning, while thinking to himself about the damage that was done to him and the names he was called as a child and the abuse that he suffered and all that. So as a result, it's a credible, insane person who is thankful and is writing psalms in praise of the dark man that we meet in the book that I don't feel like we met in this story at all.
I recognize the difference and the difficulties in adapting the written word to the screen, because a lot of stuff, especially inner monologue, inner emotions, inner thoughts, are so hard to convey that aren't just them, with a voiceover, right?
A narrator,
right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of out of fashion a little bit right now. But even all that said, I feel like I recognize the profile that you just painted for me of this character, Brian. And I do feel like I at least see the splashes of those things, right? We did see in some of his, in that interesting, like, fiery effects sequence near the beginning.
Fire boobs.
All of his memories and stuff.
And titties all at once.
We do see him blow up the tanks at the beginning of the episode and then pleasure himself, it looked like, at the end of that sequence. And as well as his demeanor when he talked to Randall Flagg. I recognize that you're never going to get the same amount of depth with however many pages of the book is dedicated to him versus the 5 minutes he was given, if that, today in this episode. But I
also,
think
this is a pretty good moment for us to remind everybody that Bryce is digging the melodrama so far. You're not bothered and not insulted by the cheese at all.
You know what? I think it's fine.
Yeah.
This is sometimes when I'm watching this show, I just remember, okay, this is CBS. This is the same channel that had Joan of Arcadia. Like, there's not really, there's going to be religious allegories.
it's not CBS. It's CBS All Access.
Yeah,
Which is why you can show that New Vegas stuff. I that keeps hitting me because, and I don't mean to contradict you by saying this. I mean to say it feels like CBS. And then suddenly you're in New Vegas, and there's people bopping each other as they walk along and have a conversation. You're like, that wouldn't be on CBS.
Sure.
Like so if you're going to go that route, I'm just curious why this doesn't feel more HBO in other ways.
I wonder. I don't know if that's a higher up CBS thing of just the direction that they shoot with stuff or not.
Yeah.
But I think it's.
Is it like shooting 4:3 safe? Like when you're in the early days of widescreen, you're like, you can have a widescreen, but
we gotta have to crop this in.
Is this like, it's CBS? We want to be able to edit it to put it on broadcast, maybe. So yeah, you can show some boobs in the background as long as you can take them out later.
Not too many F words.
Yeah, maybe.
I actually really could see. I mean, especially that's what they did with Good Fight, wasn't it, Tom? They and Star Trek, like they've aired some of the CBS All Access stuff on CBS. I would not be surprised if someone said, "Hey, let's see if we can round down some of these edges here."
Sure.
It's tough, especially given that this seems like this is a mini series, not necessarily a full-on multi-season series. So
I think that's right.
I would rather them get through really broad strokes of these characters than say, if it would have taken the whole season to get to where we are now, just to give everything more depth, I don't think I would have liked it as much. I'm fine with us just barreling through. Got it. He's crazy. He loves fires, but he also is pretty knowledgeable about it. And he really loves Randall Flagg. Got it.
I don't know. I don't remember him being so craven. That's what kept bothering me. It's like he's almost unintelligible as a person, and just so like I know Randall Flagg is the big man, right? But I remember Trash Can Man having a little more of a spine and a little more of humanness to him than this version.
Yeah, and he also is given a fair bit of responsibility. Like that's what makes it, not to spoil where things head, significant that he is provoked into abandoning his post because he has a post and he is respected for the first time in his life. This probably least favorite episode of the whole series.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't love the New Vegas part of this. The Tom Cullen escape was fine. Didn't love the Trash Can Man stuff much. Was fine with the Boulder stuff though. I actually enjoyed that. I'm with you that the tension could have been ramped up more, but I was at least engaged in that side of the story.
There was really only one character that was ever in danger, and he appeared to all but be diving into the danger. So it's really hard for me to feel like, no, how many of you are going to get away? In that same scene, it's like, it was like, I remember reading it and it's like, it's a toss up, man. We got 5 people I care a lot about. I don't know, 3 of them make it, maybe, if I'm lucky.
I hadn't remembered the scene, so I kept thinking like they're all going to walk in there any minute, and then it's going to blow up. They're going to walk in there any minute, which I think is what you were supposed to think.
Yeah.
Whereas you were like, they haven't even walked in.
Yeah. Well, and they do kind of signal that Mother Abigail had been found relatively early on. I think that the order of that scene did feel a little weird because. Kind of what you were saying, Brian, of like, well, everyone was already kind of outside and it's not like they were, all rushing to get in.
Right.
Yeah. And again, not to make it excuses, but I believe, if I remember correctly, in the book, Mother Abigail vanishes, and it is fairly apparent that it's not necessary to the story that she ever show up again. Whereas in this version of it that we're seeing, it looks like she's out on a day trip and we're going to see her any minute. So in the book, we're already cozy with the idea that she's just gone. And everybody is coalescing in a meeting in the house to decide what they're going to do without her. And it's just this impending, rhythm, heartbeat of tension that like various people realize something's wrong and not everybody makes it out. And in fact, Franny is still in the house and she gets blown out of the house, which whatever. I'm just glad it exists.
I do think my one criticism, I guess my persistent criticism of the show is like, I need to see Mother A do something cool. I needed to see her do
Literally
something godly,
anything.
please.
Literally anything.
Because she seems like she's got spunk, right? I think I don't know.
Well, we got 2 more episodes: The Walk and an episode of The Stand called The Stand.
What?
So those are our next 2 episodes. Any
And then
last thoughts
Dakota.
on The Stand?
No. We're falling off the cliff on this one, I think.
That's The Stand, episode 6, season 1. Let's talk about Hannibal, episode 1, season 9, True Normand, a totem pole of human bodies. Graham, investigating the crime scene, suddenly sleepwalks his way over to Hannibal's office, where Hannibal admits that he in fact was there when what's her face killed the other guy. I've lost my page.
But I mean, really, what
Abigail? Oh, it's because we just talked about Mother Abigail in The Stand. That's why I was blocked on that. So he was there when Abigail killed, and he plays the Lecter manipulation card very astutely and says, "Yes, I was there, and no, I'm not planning to tell anyone, but you and I will know that was the only choice I could have made. And if you'd have been there, you'd have made the same choice, don't you think, Will?" It was an interesting manipulative moment to make Will his new best friend.
There is sort of like a Mexican standoff, all 3 of them holding a knife to each other's throats for various emotional and legal reasons. And we, in one case, we have Hannibal willing to lie on behalf of Abigail to hide that. And, Will knows, but he'll never say because I know this and because Will's the one that killed your dad.
When they have the dinner and Abigail realizes, like, Will knows, huh? And Hannibal's like, oh yeah, of course he does.
Yeah.
He had to.
When I collapse the whole episode down to that new dynamic, then I'm cool with it. Outside of that, there's a lot of noise in this episode. Like somebody,
you didn't like the totem pole of bodies?
It felt like somebody had it in the concept art and it's just sitting there and we need something episode.
It was a story that was designed to go from point A to point B. I mean, even when they pick the guy up, he's like, "Yep, it's me. I'm confessing to the whole
I was
thing."
Like, wait, that's the guy? And he's
not taking
the
rap for somebody else.
I've been waiting for you to show up.
Yeah.
What? That was my son. The twist even lost me. I was like, oh, that's the big reveal. Okay. Yeah.
But again, the resetting of the tension between 3 of our main characters, that's enough. Like, okay, that was a dumb way to pay the price, but I'm willing to get here. Mm-hmm. I like that there's elevated tension between them.
I liked all the Hannibal Will Abigail stuff. I that was the meat of this episode for me, not the actual Tower of Human Meat.
Yeah,
it's almost like this is.
But you could tell, like somebody was like, "No, I tried really hard. You notice there's 3 arms, and they go, "There's." Well, they based that on.
IMD refers to it as Shrike victims number 2 and 3. So obviously somebody was trying to make a Shrike out of humans. Somebody really liked sci-fi.
Shrike.
Yeah, there's a famous book called The Hyperion Cantos, where the killer is a alien called the Shrike.
Wait, I thought that was the name of the serial killer, the like Baltimore Shrike, right?
Yeah.
The guy that they caught in this episode, or
no, but one of the ones that they were
2 Shrikes.
But there was also the Chesapeake Ripper.
Chesapeake Ripper is the one I remember.
I think that's Hannibal, right? I think that's supposed to be Hannibal.
Yeah, look, he's all of them. He's all of them. He's none of them. It's up, it's down. Bodies, they magically appear. They play Tetris.
3 Shrikes and you're out.
I mean, I think we're all. None of us want to say anything bad about this series, which is very good. But I think we're all on the same page that we are happy for an interesting 3-way dynamic between these 3 main characters.
Right.
Maybe not super satisfied with the narrative that they used this episode to get us there.
honestly, I didn't have a problem with the totem pole until the reveal, and I was like, "That really? That's it? Oh, okay, all right." Like I should be more shocked.
It's a transition. It's another transitionary episode, right? I mean, they can't all have Hannibal kill a guy in his office after a big fight scene, you know. So
true. We are coming right off of that.
That's some of the pacing, I think. Here is I think they're giving us ups and downs for some kind of range.
The true Normand, in actual culinary terms, is literally a Norman hole, a pause between dishes in which the diners partake in a glass of Calvados.
So in other words, just chill. It's going to make sense.
Yeah.
Hey guys, everybody, take a moment. Look at this. Ooh, that's a lot of ice cream piled up real high, isn't it? Okay.
Can I have some of that? No, just the top and the bottom.
Next act. Now we're going to fight.
Here's drink your Calvados and shut up. We're moving on.
Yeah, kind of.
We did see an evolution of Will's sleepwalking. I mean, I think that we're finding more progression.
All of a sudden now he's sleep driving, sleep showing up to appointments, sleep editing new episodes of his blog. And
but did a lot of sleep maintenance on his house.
But I think like that's more of the progression and the transition here is like Hannibal's really going in for the kill to put a wedge between Will and Jack, right? Will's really like, this job is killing you, and even if you are doing a good, are you going to die for this job? Like, in so many words. And
no, the Hannibal Will relationship is building very nicely, very complex. Hannibal likes Will because he thinks Will is close enough to him to understand, but far enough from him not to be a threat. And yeah, that's just fascinating to watch that little dance. And Will's just falling apart.
And on top of that, the Hannibal-Abigail relationship is very credible. Like, if you asked me at the beginning of the series, right, would I ever feel okay about Hannibal giving a warm hug to Abigail, the answer would be no, but instead it felt so natural. I was like, fatherly, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
She needs that.
I mean, it was explicit in this episode. We are her fathers now.
Yeah. And I know the difference between a monster and a victim, and you are a victim, and I'm here to make you whole by making you into me.
we are the family you chose, Abigail. Ugh. Yeah. Any other thoughts on 109?
Here's something.
Okay.
After that scene between Will and Graham, between Will and Hannibal after he sleepwalks to the office, and they cut over to Will going and meeting Jack, I had not noticed that Lauren Fishburne has a gap tooth, and in that scene, it's very prominent.
Oh, no, yeah, he always has.
But I hadn't noticed it in previous episodes either. I feel like that's almost like a bit of like inspired casting and acting. If they intentionally made that very upfront in that scene, or maybe I just don't pay attention.
I think each of us at a different time notices that gap, and this was your time.
Your time has come.
My coming of gap.
Yeah.
All right, that's Hannibal, episode 9 of season 1, and that is Spoilerin time. Next week, WandaVision episode 4, Stand episode 7, and Hannibal episode 10. We'll talk to you then. Thanks, everybody.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.